Chosen one, listen to me carefully. I have an important and urgent message to share, and this message is not for everyone. If you are not walking the divine path of God, if you are not serious about your spiritual calling, then this video is not meant for you. Only those who are truly chosen, those who genuinely follow God, will feel drawn to stay. And if you are still here, that alone tells me something about you. This message reached you at the exact right moment, not early, not late, perfectly timed by God Himself. Something in your spirit needed this confirmation today, and heaven made sure you received it. Chosen one, you are walking with the same power that raised Christ from the grave. This is not symbolic. This is not poetic language. This is living authority. And that power marks you as rare, one in a trillion. Stay with me till the end, because what I am about to reveal will help you finally understand why your life has unfolded the way it has, and why nothing about you has ever been ordinary. Before we continue, chosen ones, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon so you don't miss what God is releasing here, share this message with other chosen ones, and comment 777 in the comments to declare that you are aligned with the calling God placed on your life. Now, take a breath. Let's begin. The power that raised Christ is not symbolic. It is active. Chosen one, I want you to slow down here. Breathe. Let your shoulders relax. Because what I am about to explain is not motivational talk. This is truth. Deep truth. And truth has a way of settling the soul. When we talk about the power that raised Christ from the dead, many people treat it like poetry, like a beautiful idea meant to inspire hope, but not to be lived in. They quote it, they admire it, but they never expect it to operate through them. That is where most believers stop. But you are not most believers. That power was never meant to stay in history. God does not release power just to prove a point and then withdraw it. God releases power to establish authority on earth. The resurrection was not an ending, it was a beginning, a transfer, a declaration that death, limitation, fear, and human weakness no longer have the final word. And here is where it gets personal for you. If that power raised Christ and Christ released His Spirit, then that same power is active now. Not sleeping, not symbolic. Active, moving, searching for vessels strong enough, humble enough, and disciplined enough to carry it without misusing it. That is why not everyone feels it. That is why not everyone walks in it. Religion teaches people to admire God from a distance. Resurrection power draws chosen ones into participation. You were never designed to just believe. You were designed to carry. This is why your spirit reacts differently when truth is spoken. This is why certain messages don't just sound good to you, they settle you, calm you, align you. Something in you recognizes authority because authority lives inside you. Now listen carefully. This power does not always look dramatic. It does not always announce itself with noise. In fact, most of the time, resurrection power moves quietly. It restores instead of impressing. It stabilizes instead of showing off. It keeps you standing when everything around you collapses. Think about your life. How many times should you have broken completely, but somehow you didn't? How many times did you feel drained, attacked, confused, yet something inside you refused to shut down? That was not willpower. That was not luck. That was resurrection power doing what it does best, preserving what God has marked. This power gives you a different relationship with failure. You fall, but you rise again. You get hit, but you recover faster than logic allows. You face loss, but you don't lose yourself. That is not normal strength. That is spiritual authority working behind the scenes. Most people measure power by control. God measures power by resurrection. The ability to come back, the ability to rebuild, the ability to stand again without becoming bitter, cruel, or hardened. And this is why chosen ones are often misunderstood. People expect power to look aggressive, loud, dominating, but resurrection power looks calm, grounded, watchful. It doesn't rush, it doesn't panic, it doesn't need validation. That is why people may underestimate you, talk over you, or dismiss you. They don't recognize quiet authority, but darkness recognizes it instantly. That is why resistance shows up early in your life. That is why pressure followed you before you even understood why. That is why certain doors closed without explanation. Not because you were weak, but because you were dangerous to the wrong systems. Resurrection power disrupts dead structures. It exposes false foundations. It refuses to cooperate with environments that thrive on fear, manipulation, or spiritual stagnation. So naturally, it attracts pushback. And let me say something important here. Chosen one. This power does not make you superior to others. It makes you responsible. Responsibility is heavier than privilege. God does not give this power to inflate your ego. He gives it to refine your character. That is why your training has been intense. You had to learn restraint before expansion, silence before recognition, obedience before authority. God was not delaying you, He was stabilizing you. Because resurrection power in an unstable vessel becomes destructive, not redemptive. You see, miracles are easy, maturity is rare. God is not impressed by displays. He is invested in endurance, and endurance is what resurrection power builds inside you. The ability to stay aligned when emotions fluctuate. The ability to remain grounded when others react. The ability to forgive without becoming foolish. To love without becoming weak. This is why your spiritual walk feels different. Heavier at times. Lonelier at times. More demanding at times. Because you are not being shaped for comfort. You are being shaped for impact. And impact requires power that can survive pressure. Resurrection power teaches you patience. It teaches you timing. It teaches you that not every battle requires a response, and not every opportunity requires immediate action. It trains your discernment so you move when God moves, not when emotions flare. This is also why shallow spirituality never satisfied you. Surface-level faith never held you. You always felt there was more depth, more truth, more responsibility. That hunger was not rebellion, it was recognition. Your spirit knows what it carries. Now let me ground this for you, so your mind can rest. You do not have to force this power. You do not have to prove it. You do not have to announce it. Resurrection power works best when it is trusted, not strained. When it is honored, not exploited. Your job is alignment. God's job is activation. And alignment begins internally, with peace, with humility, with discipline, with the willingness to let God correct you without resisting Him. That is where this power stays alive and healthy. If you ever wondered why God keeps pulling you back to stillness, to reflection, to inner order, this is why. Resurrection power flows best through clarity, not chaos. Chosen one, what you carry is real. It is ancient, it is alive, and it is working even when you feel quiet, unseen, or paused. You are not waiting for power, you are learning how to walk with it. And in the next part, I'm going to show you why you were marked for this calling long before you ever understood your name, your story, or your struggles. Stay with me. Section 3. Why you were marked for a 1 in a trillion calling. Chosen one, I want you to hear this slowly, because this truth heals places you don't always have words for. You were marked long before you were aware, long before you could explain your thoughts, long before you understood why you felt different, why you saw deeper, why you questioned more, why your spirit never fully blended in. This calling did not begin when you decided to follow God. It began when God decided to trust you, and that decision was not random. A one-in-a-trillion calling is not about popularity, talent, or public recognition. It is about capacity. Capacity to carry weight, capacity to endure silence, capacity to remain soft in a world that hardens people. From early on, life treated you differently. You noticed it, even if you couldn't explain it. You were often the one observing while others were participating. You felt emotions deeply. You sensed atmospheres. You picked up on things that weren't said. That was not weakness. That was perception. God was tuning your inner world long before He revealed your outer assignment. This is why your childhood may have felt heavier than others. You may have matured faster emotionally. You may have felt misunderstood, overlooked, or misplaced. Not because something was wrong with you, but because your soul was not designed for shallow environments. You were never meant to grow fast. You were meant to grow deep. Depth requires pressure. God does not entrust resurrection authority to those who run from discomfort. He entrusts it to those who can sit with truth, even when truth is inconvenient. That is why your life included seasons where nothing made sense, but something inside you kept saying, "Stay, learn, observe." You weren't lost. You were being trained. Many chosen ones ask this question silently. Why did I have to go through so much before anything ever made sense? Because clarity without character is dangerous. God needed to shape your inner response system before He released outer responsibility. You had to learn how to manage disappointment without becoming cynical, how to experience rejection without losing compassion, how to be alone without becoming bitter. These lessons are invisible to the world, but they are essential for those who carry power that revives. A one-in-a-trillion calling requires emotional mastery, not emotional suppression, but emotional wisdom. The ability to feel deeply without being controlled by what you feel. That is why your emotional journey has been intense. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. Notice something about your life. Whenever you tried to force yourself into normal patterns, something resisted. When you tried to settle for less depth, less truth, less meaning, your spirit felt restless. You could function, but you couldn't fully engage. That discomfort was not dissatisfaction. It was divine refusal. God refused to let you shrink. This is why comparison never worked for you. Even when you tried to measure your life against others, it never fit properly. Their timelines didn't match yours. Their desires didn't satisfy yours. Their goals felt incomplete to you. That's because your assignment does not operate on common timelines. Chosen ones are not rushed. They are ripened. A one-in-a-trillion calling matures slowly because it must withstand pressure from multiple dimensions. Spiritual pressure, emotional pressure, mental pressure, responsibility pressure. God stretches time around you so you can stretch internally without breaking. That is also why you experienced periods of isolation. Some of them were physical, some emotional, some spiritual, and some of the loneliest moments happened even when you were surrounded by people. That was intentional. Isolation is not abandonment. Isolation is concentration. God isolates what He is about to multiply. He pulls it away from noise, from interference, from contamination. Not everyone can understand what you carry. Not everyone should have access to your inner world. If too many voices get close too early, the calling becomes diluted. This is why God protected you by limiting who could truly understand you. And yes, it hurt at times. Yes, you questioned yourself. Yes, you wondered if something was wrong with you. But look at you now. You are still here, still seeking truth, still sensitive, still standing. That alone confirms the calling. A one-in-a-trillion calling also means you were built to influence environments, not be shaped by them. When you enter a room, something shifts. Conversations slow down. Energy changes. Even if people can't name it, they feel it. That's because resurrection power carries presence, and presence doesn't demand attention. It commands respect, silently. This is also why some people feel uncomfortable around you without knowing why. Your calm exposes chaos. Your clarity exposes confusion. Your authenticity exposes masks. And not everyone wants to be exposed, so resistance shows up. But let me say this gently, because it matters for your peace. Resistance is not rejection, it is recognition. The moment you stop personalizing resistance, your mind rests. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be effective where God places you. Now here is something I want you to internalize deeply. This calling does not make you better than others. It makes you accountable. God holds chosen ones to higher internal standards. Not because he expects perfection, but because he expects alignment. You feel conviction faster. Correction hits deeper. Silence speaks louder to you. That is not pressure, that is guidance. God communicates with you internally because he trusts your sensitivity. A 1 in a trillion calling also means your obedience matters more than your visibility. You may notice that whenever you try to chase recognition, things slow down. But when you focus on alignment, doors open quietly. That is God teaching you where your power actually flows. Your authority does not come from being seen. It comes from being trusted. And trust is built in hidden places. This is why your progress sometimes feels invisible. You are growing roots, not branches. Roots determine how much weight a tree can carry without falling. God is not interested in quick results if they can't last. Chosen one, your life makes sense when viewed through this lens. The delays, the detours, the deep internal work. None of it was wasted. None of it was accidental. You were being marked, separated, prepared. And here is the part that should calm your nervous system right now. You don't have to rush into anything. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to compete with anyone. A 1 in a trillion calling unfolds naturally when alignment is maintained. God knows when to activate what he placed inside you. Your only responsibility is to remain honest, grounded, and open to refinement. In the next section, I will help you recognize the signs that this resurrection power has already been active in your life, even during seasons when you doubted yourself. You may realize you were never as behind as you thought. Stay with me. Section 4. The signs you walk with resurrection power, even if you deny it. Chosen one. This is where many of you quietly nod without saying a word. Not because you want attention, but because something I am about to describe feels familiar in a way that settles your chest. You may not have had language for it before. You may have doubted it. You may have downplayed it. But the signs have been there all along. Resurrection power does not announce itself with noise. It reveals itself through patterns, through survival, through restoration, through the way you respond when life presses you hard. Let me start with this. You recover in ways that confuse people. You don't always bounce back immediately, but you do come back stronger, clearer, more grounded. Situations that should have permanently damaged you only refined you. Pain didn't erase your compassion. Loss didn't steal your faith. Disappointment didn't turn you cruel. That is not common. That is resurrection power rebuilding you from the inside. You have also noticed that endings in your life never feel final. Jobs end, relationships shift, seasons close. But something inside you always senses that the story isn't over. Even when things collapse, you don't collapse internally. There is a quiet knowing that something will rise again. That knowing did not come from optimism, it came from experience. Another sign is how environments react to you. When you enter certain spaces, tension rises or clarity follows. People either open up around you or become guarded. Some feel strangely calm in your presence. Others feel exposed without understanding why. You don't have to say much. Your presence alone does the work. That is resurrection power at rest. It doesn't push. It stabilizes. It doesn't demand attention. It alters atmosphere. You may also notice that chaos tends to exhaust you more than others. Loud conflict drains you. Shallow conversations tire you. Not because you are weak, but because your spirit is calibrated for order. Resurrection power restores alignment, so misalignment feels heavy to you. Your nervous system reacts when things are off. That sensitivity is not fragility, it is discernment. Here is another sign. You have a deep discomfort with falsehood, even when it benefits you. You cannot live comfortably with lies, masks, or half-truths. Even when pretending would make life easier, something inside you resists it. You may have tried to ignore that inner tension before, but it always returns. That is resurrection power, insisting on integrity. You are also someone who learns through experience rather than theory. You don't just accept ideas, you live them, you test them, you wrestle with them. Faith for you is not blind, it is embodied. You believe because you have survived what belief carried you through. Another quiet sign is how you handle authority. You respect it, but you are not intimidated by it. You can sit in rooms with powerful people and remain grounded. You don't feel the need to impress, compete, or shrink. That balance comes from internal authority, not ego. Resurrection power teaches you who you are without external validation. You may have also noticed that people confide in you unexpectedly. Strangers open up. Friends reveal things they hide from others. Even those who don't fully trust you still sense something safe about you. You don't advertise wisdom, but people feel heard around you. That is restoration energy flowing naturally. Another sign is how you experience fatigue. You can be physically tired, but spiritually steady. You rest differently. Silence restores you. Stillness recalibrates you. You don't need constant stimulation. In fact, too much noise makes you feel disconnected from yourself. Resurrection power thrives in clarity, not chaos. You may also realize that your life has been filled with near breaking points, moments where everything seemed like it was ending at once. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Yet somehow each time you emerged with deeper understanding, not bitterness. Wiser, not hardened, softer, not weaker. That pattern is not accidental. Resurrection power specializes in bringing life out of pressure. Here is a sign many of you overlook. You don't seek revenge when wronged. You want justice, yes, but revenge drains you. Holding grudges weighs you down. You may need time to process, but eventually your spirit wants release, not retaliation. That is not passivity. That is authority, refusing to lower itself. You also tend to question yourself more than others, not because you lack confidence, but because you take responsibility seriously. You don't move recklessly. You reflect. You analyze. You want to act rightly, not just quickly. That self-examination is not insecurity. It is stewardship. Resurrection power requires accountability. Another sign is your relationship with time. You sense when to wait. You feel when something is premature. You often hesitate before major decisions, not out of fear, but out of discernment. And when the timing is right, you move with surprising clarity. This frustrates people who rush. But your pace protects you. You may also notice that you outgrow environments faster than expected. Places that once felt aligned eventually feel restrictive. Not because they are bad, but because you have shifted internally. Resurrection power keeps moving. It doesn't stagnate. Let me say something important now. Chosen one. Doubting this power does not disqualify you from it. Many of the most anointed vessels doubted themselves deeply. What matters is not your certainty. It is your willingness to stay aligned even while uncertain. You are allowed to question. You are allowed to feel tired. You are allowed to pause. Resurrection power does not demand perfection. It demands honesty. If you have ever wondered why life keeps pushing you toward deeper self-awareness, deeper faith, deeper responsibility, this is why. Surface-level living cannot contain what you carry. God keeps drawing you inward so you don't fracture outwardly. And here is the calm truth I want you to hold right now. You don't need to force recognition of this power. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to convince anyone. The signs are already present. They show in how you rise, how you restore, how you remain gentle in a harsh world, how you stay grounded when things shake. Resurrection power is not loud. It is consistent. In the next section, I will explain why carrying this power often attracts resistance, delay, and unseen opposition, and why that does not mean anything is wrong with you. In fact, it means everything is working as it should. Stay with me. Section 5. Why this power attracts war, delay, and silent opposition. Chosen one, this section is meant to calm your nervous system, not alarm it. So read this slowly. Let it land. Because many of you have been carrying unnecessary guilt, thinking something went wrong, when in truth, something went right. Resurrection power does not move through life unnoticed. It doesn't blend into systems built on fear, control, or stagnation. Wherever it goes, it challenges what is dead, false, or fragile. And anything that threatens dead structures attracts resistance. Not because it is evil, but because it is alive. This is why war showed up early in your life. Not always visible war, not always dramatic. Sometimes it looked like confusion, sometimes delay, sometimes emotional pressure that didn't make sense for your age, sometimes silent opposition that no one else seemed to notice. You felt it, though. You always felt it. Opposition is not a sign of misalignment. It is often confirmation of proximity. Darkness does not fight what poses no threat. It ignores it. Let me explain something that will immediately release tension from your mind. Delay is not denial. Delay is often insulation. God delays what must be protected. He slows what must mature. He hides what must be stabilized. Chosen ones are not rushed into exposure. They are layered into readiness. This is why your timeline frustrated you. You saw others move faster, receive sooner, gain quicker results, and you wondered why your path felt restrained, monitored, slowed. It was not punishment. It was precision. Resurrection power requires containment. God knows what happens when power outruns character. He has seen it destroy people. So he refuses to release you prematurely, even when you ask, even when you beg.